Hello everyone and welcome to my latest Photoshop tutorial, and today it's just a simple edit featuring a very young Lionel Messi, and in the reflection, okay, you can see we've got him kissing the Champions League trophy here. He's very much doing his kick-ups as a young lad at Barcelona in the youth academy, and he's dreaming of glory. Okay, it's a simple basic Photoshop edit for those who are new to Photoshop and feel a little bit intimidated and are not sure how to do or go about things. This is the edit or tutorial for you. So without further ado, I'm going to get straight into it. Now, as I go along, I'll be explaining the shortcuts that I'm using and the keys. If it's a little bit too fast, okay, if you're watching on a PC, just tap K to pause or J and it'll take you about 10-15 seconds, depending on your settings, and you can just rewatch and rewatch. And if there's any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll always endeavour to answer them. So let's get started. So I'm working on a Mac, so at any point I use the word Command for the key. Okay, if you're working on Windows, just use Control. Okay, so I'm going to start Command N for a new document. So you can find a lot of these shortcuts alongside what will be the action just up here in the menu bar, but nevertheless, I'm going to work on 1080 by 1080 pixels, and they're the pixels ideally for Instagram. 144 pixels per inch, but if you're going to work with print, sometimes you might see me with 300 pixels per inch, and RGB colour 8-bit, red, green, blue, and we'll start with the white background, and we're going to click OK. Now, first thing I'm going to do is drop in my background image, and to do that, okay, I've already got them set up here. So I've got this image from Unsplash. Now when you go to Unsplash, when you go on the link, okay, don't just go straight into the folder and try and save it. It won't work. It's entirely free. Okay, just go to the download free, and then you'll get this little notification to say that it's downloaded. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my Photoshop, and I'm just going to drag it in, drop it in. Now, if you can't drag and drop in, some people message me and get confused, not confused, but unsure why it's not working. Go to File, Place Embedded, and we can find it that way. Okay, now you've noticed we've got our transform tool up with these dots all the way around the photo. Now I'm working on Photoshop 2021, so if I click the top corner and move up, it will grow in proportion. If I hold Alt, okay, just zoom out a little bit. If I use Alt, hold Alt down and move, okay, it will grow out in proportion. And if I hold Shift, okay, it won't be in proportion. So I'm going to press Command Z to go back, and it just does the last action I did. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to resize this image so it covers the entire white background, and I'd like a little bit of foreground, so I'm going to go for something like that, and I'm going to hit enter. Now anytime I want to get that transform tool up, I can press Command T or Control T, and it'll bring it up. Now first thing we're going to do is we're going to just blur this sky and the back of the mountains a little bit. So it's a smart object already, which means I can edit it and resize it without losing quality. And I'm going to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Okay, I've gone for roughly 2 pixels. Now you notice, click OK, the whole image is blurred. So what I'm going to do is this little box here. Okay, this is where we can mask. I'm going to hit B for my brush tool. You can see it selected over here on the tools panel. Okay, I'm going to right click. I'm going to select a soft brush. You can just go to your soft brush, it comes pre-installed. Okay, go for around 25 opacity and flow. Okay, just using the bracket keys on my keyboard, and make sure I've got black selected over here. So what black will do is it'll paint away what we've done on. In fact, wrong, press Command Z, not the sky, it's the ground in front that we want to do. I'm just going to run over it a couple of times just to get that foreground. Lift off, click on again, and especially the path and the trees, and it gives us a nice bit of blur between the middle ground as well and the back of the ground. And you'll notice just over here where it's greying, and I'm just going to rub it along a little bit more, and I'm happy with that. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to bring in Lionel Messi. So we've got our image of Messi here. Now there's a variety of ways in which you can cut out. Now I prefer to use the pen tool. If you go over and you look at your selection tools, okay, you've got object selection tool, quick selection tool, magic wand tool, you've got lasso tool, polygon lasso tool, magnetic lasso tool. Okay, there's a variety of different techniques. Quick selection is another favourite. Is another favourite of many people. However, I like the pen tool. It gives a nice, clean cut. So I'll just give an example on this ball. Okay, with the pen tool, click down a point. Okay, click another point. Hold your mouse down. Hold your trackpad down. Okay, and just drag out till you get a nice curve. Hold Alt. Okay, and just bend that point round in the direction that you want to go. Keep holding Alt down. Okay, or let go just there and move around and just keep lifting and moving. Now, obviously that's not the best tutorial. What I would recommend is I'll drop some links in the comments in the description below. Go and check out how to use the pen tool. It's one of the first tools I would highly recommend learning. If you really want to get into sports edits or just editing in Photoshop in general, it's a must thing to learn. So go ahead and learn it. Take 10-15 minutes to do that, and then jump back into this tutorial. However, if you feel confident enough and you've cut all the way around messy, like I've cut around this ball, okay, you'll close your path, click selection, okay, feather radius, you want it nice and sharp, so 0 pixels, anti-aliased, a new selection, click OK, and you'll see these marching ants. Okay, this is our selection. What I like to do is I like to create a new layer out of it. You can mask, which we'll talk about shortly, but I just like to create a new layer. So I'll press Command J, okay, and then if I hide the main messy image, you'll see that I've cut out the ball. Now, hopefully, you'll do that with messy. Command 0 there to resize it. You'll cut all the way around, close the selection off, and then you should be left with something looking a bit like this. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to press Command T. In fact, I'm going to hit V for my move tool at the top. Press Command T. Okay, I'm going to position him just off there, and we want him to dominate the picture, so he's taking up a bit of the sky. And as you can see here, we've got some grass down the bottom, and it's not blended in very well. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a thing called masking. So select the messy. I've called him the kid here. We'll call him messy. And this icon here, okay, click it to add layer mask. Now you'll get this little box here. Hit B for your brush tool. Okay, we want a nice soft brush, nothing too big. Now make sure you've got black selected, and we're going to work non-destructively. So what does this mean? This means that we're going to paint away. So if I bring the opacity and the flow up. So when I paint across now, I'm going to get rid of the pixels, but I won't be deleting them. I'll just be hiding them. That's the best way to describe it. So if I click and hold down, you'll notice I can just hide it. So black always hides. So if you can see here, we've got a little black line there showing you what we've done. But if we swap the colours over, if we press X on the keyboard, okay, make it a little bit bigger, and then I paint back and paint it back on. So that means we're working non-destructively. So if you use the eraser tool and you make a mistake, you'd have to just keep going back and stopping and starting. Whereas if I hit X, I've got black selected. Okay, what I can do is I'm using my bracket keys to lower my brush size. Okay, I can just mask away a little bit at the bottom there, just to help his feet blend in. And it just gets rid of a little bit of the grass. Okay, what I'm going to do is, while I've got messy now here as well, okay, I am going to give him a shadow underneath. So I'm going to hold Command down on my keyboard. I'm going to select this new layer icon down here, and it's going to drop a new layer below. If I just click that new layer icon, it would drop the layer above. So I'm going to call this one Shadow. Okay, I've got black selected already. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to change the angle of my brush, something like that. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I think that's okay. So if I just click it there, you can see it come on. Press Command Z, it'll get rid of it. And I'm going to drop the flow down to start with around 40 and 40. Okay, and just underneath, I'm just going to select, just do an initial shadow. So if you are brand new, unfamiliar with shadows and stuff, I do have a tutorial on shadows, and I've gone a little bit too far. Just come off there, make it a little bit bigger, use my bracket keys and just drag down a little bit. And come out a little bit, and that's looking okay. What we can do is we can change the blend mode over here. So this is where the pixels interact underneath, so you can see it's changed a little bit. Just paint a little bit more. I think I prefer the normal. Okay, what I can do is I can just drop the fill down, maybe drop the opacity a little bit, bring the fill back up. And that's not looking great. Let's have a look. What you can do is come real close and get right in there. So that's not the best. I'm going to delete that layer and start again. I'm going to zoom in and lift up my opacity and my flow. Do an initial shadow, make it bigger, drop down the flow, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the hardness as well. That's a little bit better. Okay, I'm not going to get too bogged down into it. Okay, it's something that comes with practice. I've changed the opacity there, but we've still got our shadow in there. Okay, so I do implore you, go and check out my shadow tutorial. There's other tutorials out there as well. They are fantastic. So I digress. So we've put our shadow in, so we're starting to blend him in a little bit. Okay, bearing in mind this is just a basic tutorial. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to bring in the picture of Lionel Messi kissing the Champions League. Okay, so while we've got our transform tool up, I'm going to right click or double click if you're working on a map. I'm going to flip him vertical. So he's upside down. I'm just zooming out using the trackpad. Okay, I'm going to start to size him up with the puddle. So zoom in a little bit. And go for something like that initially. Okay, now I'm going to go to perspective. Just going to drag him across. Come out like that, so I'm just dragging him out. Drag it across. Drag it out, so he's like kind of level with the water. So that's looking pretty good. We'll go for something like that. I'm going to hit enter. Okay, I'm going to press Command T for my transform tool again. Okay, because it's a little bit too large for my liking. I'm just going to drop it down. And we don't want him something around there. So we'll go for something like that. Now what we can do is a smart object as designated by that little icon there. So I'm going to go to filter, I'm going to go to blur, and we'll go to motion blur. And we've given it 90 degrees, 6 pixels. Let's have a look. Okay, we're just giving it a little bit of motion, maybe 4 pixels. He's in the water. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. Okay, and I'm going to drop the fill down to 60% roughly because we want the mountains to come in. Okay, and with our reflection layer there, so I'm going to name it reflection. Okay, I'm going to create another layer mask. It's like we did before, make sure we've got black selected. Hit B, right click, okay, get a nice soft brush. And again, I'm just going to swing the size around. And I've got 40 and 30 roughly for the flow. Okay, I'm just going to paint away initially the rough edges. Okay, so remember we're working non-destructively now. If it's taking a little bit of a while, what we can do is just bring up the opacity, bring up the flow, zoom in a little bit. And you can see there the edges going. So you want to get rid of that straight line. There's no straight lines in nature. We're just roughly following the contours of his body. Something like that. So if you are enjoying this this tutorial as well, please have a look at some of my other tutorials. So again, like if you are a beginner or if you're new to Photoshop, go check them out. I get lots of nice messages on my Instagram, TB Photoshop tutorials, links in the description below, and I get a lot of people saying how much I've helped them with Photoshop, which is, I won't lie, really satisfying and really nice to hear about. So I do like to know that I am helping people and inspiring people, so that's good. So go check out some of my other tutorials. I have advanced, and I do have some more beginner stuff. So digress. So I've been painting around there. Okay, what we can do is we can just drop it down even more, make it a little bit bigger. So we see we've got the mountains coming in now, so it's making it a lot more believable. We'll keep the ribbons on, and we're just getting on that extra little bit. Maybe on his hair, get rid of the crowd. Maybe on his shoulders and his head. I'm liking how that's looking. Maybe that little black bit there. Shadow. Just painting on. Maybe in there, just blending it in nicely. Okay, it really is a bit of an art. Apologies, I'm rushing for the purposes of this tutorial. So if I press Command 0 and come out, you can see the effect we've achieved there. And that's looking fantastic. Now what we can do is we can go to Messy. Okay, you can create a new layer, just click there. Okay, we're going to use a clipping mask. So I'm going to hold Alt on my keyboard and just hover between the two layers. Okay, and click it. Obviously, if I hold Alt and click again, it'll unclip it. Or you can right click and click Create Clipping Mask. Yeah, brilliant. So what we're going to do is we've still got black selected. Beef on my brush tool. Nice soft brush. And because it's clipped, okay, what this means is, and I'll give an example now, if I bring the opacity and the flow up, if I'm painting anywhere on the layer now, you can't see it. Okay, but if I should paint on Messy, watch what happens. So if I've clicked down, I'm holding, and I'm dragging across, and then in it comes. Okay, and you can fill it in. Now if I was to unclip it, you can see where I've painted before, so I'm painting around. Yeah, happy days. If I clip it, okay, it only affects the layer just there. So get rid of that. New layer. Okay, clip it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some shading down to his legs. So I'm going to drop it down to about 15 roughly. Okay, I'm just going to paint underneath his feet there just to help it blend in a little bit better. Okay, careful to avoid the highlights. Nothing too crazy, maybe around by his socks. Now if you're feeling a little bit confident, what you can do is you can create another layer. So just paint that so you can see what we've done there. Okay, just adding a little bit of shading on. Okay, if you're feeling a little bit confident, okay, you want to add some highlights, okay, create a new layer, clip it as well. Select white. Okay, and what you can do is you can just paint and just accentuate the highlights around him, maybe especially up on the ball and around by Messi's face. Command 0 there, so you can see, can't really see it, the highlights and the shading there. Now, just to finish it off, okay, so we've got our layer selected, so I'll just get rid of these two layers that I used before, just drag them down. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Command, Shift, Alt and E, so that'll create a stamp visible layer, as you can just see down here. Okay, I'm going to right click and convert it to a smart object, so again we can go back and edit it. I'm going to go to Filter, I'm going to go to Camera Raw Filter. Now if you're using CS6 you should still have Camera Raw Filter. Okay, you might not have all these features, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to increase the vibrance a little bit, and I'm just going to increase the saturation just a fraction and add some texture as well. Okay, just making it nice and bright. Okay, you can play around with the contrast and the exposures and the temperatures and stuff. But what I also like to do is go to Effects, add a vignette. I'm just going to drag it down to about 20. Okay, see the midpoint. I'm going to keep that 50. the roundness, see there, I'm going to keep that 0. The feather I'm going to keep at 50, and the highlights I'm just going to keep at 0. I'm quite happy with that. Okay, there's loads of different things you can do there. I've got a tutorial on camera roll filter now, which you can make images pop. Go check out that one, the Conor McGregor one. Click OK. It'll apply those features, and we've just had a nice vignette effect. And there is our image, nice and simple and effective. A nice basic tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I've waffled on a lot. For those who are familiar with Photoshop, I do apologise, but there are still people out there who are new to Photoshop and learning, so thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed it, please hit like and go check out the rest of my content. And if you do, please consider subscribing, and we'll continue on this path of trying to learn Photoshop. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a tutorial very soon.